Kelowna, one of the most beautiful places in the world to live, surrounded by provincial parks, pine forests, vineyards, orchards, and mountains. Wouldn't it be great if there was a podcast about our love of Kelowna? Oh no, it's real. This is I Love Kelowna, an interview-style podcast about the fabulous and fascinating people that make up our great city and the Okanagan. Intimate conversations with entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, creatives, and anyone who has an interesting story to tell about how they're contributing to our wonderful home. This is I Love Kelowna, and here's your host, Luke J. Menkes.
How do you like the new intro, Kara?
It's awesome.
I'm here with my beautiful and talented wife, Kara Menkes.
Whoop, whoop.
She has a new last name.
I do.
And we wanted to try out the new equipment and also talk about the wine business.
Business.
Not just business, but the fun part. Like what is it? What got you into wine? I know you're a bit of a drinker, if I could say that.
No.
Like we met at a drinking establishment.
A wine bar.
In fact, at a wine bar. That's right. So there's a good chance I wouldn't have met you if I didn't go to that wine bar.
True story.
So out of all the types of alcohol you like, why do you like wine so much?
Right now, it has so much story and history, and you can never learn everything about it. And I'm sure that's true about all different liquors and spirits. But for wine, I had no idea the stories, and it was really eye-opening to first hear the stories and then actually learn more about the wine.
Right. So we need to backtrack. So we always start the show with the story of how you came to Kelowna, and I think it was about 10 years ago.
12, yeah.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
And I heard you give a talk about it. So you had a divorce and you decided to move here. Why Kelowna? Out of all the places on the planet.
Of all the gin joints. Well, because I had a really, really close friend, and I had visited her back in the February of the year I moved here and fell in love with the place immediately.
How did you meet her?
When I met her, she was living in Edmonton.
I see.
Yeah.
And then she moved here.
She moved here.
So you came to see her.
Yeah, just for a visit, brought my
Makes
daughters and my sister, and we just had a little girls trip.
And you're just like, it's amazing.
It's February, and I fell in love with it.
Right.
So that had to be something there.
And how much longer was it that you moved here?
Like 2 months.
2 months after.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say like you couldn't get Kelowna out of your head?
It's very true.
Right. So you were thinking of moving and Kelowna.
Yeah, it was just so beautiful. The one view that got me, the one that made me go, okay, this is it. I was coming down Boucherie Road, and I did the turn just where the Hatch Winery is now, and came up beside Quails Gate Winery, of all things, and the view down and seeing Green Bay and seeing just that little island of houses in this beautiful lake beside this winery, and there's hills and vineyards. And I was like, wow, paradise, beautiful.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We kind of take it for granted, but going out to show homes and stuff, I try to take a moment to just look at the view.
Yeah.
Especially coming down from Upper Mission or Lakeview Heights on the other side.
Yeah. We get so used to seeing it all the time that we sometimes forget to look.
Yeah.
Sometimes forget to go to the lake for a minute and put our feet in it, even though it's right there across the street.
Now, at what point in your life did you start to say wine is my thing, as far as drinking?
It wasn't until I moved here. It wasn't until about 4 years into moving here. I had my little wine rack. It could hold like 12 bottles, and I tried to keep like 3 on there at all times just in case somebody came over. But I liked going to my girlfriend that I came to see. She said, we don't buy wine from the stores. We go directly to the winery. And I didn't understand what she meant. So she took me to my first couple places, Summerhill, and I was like, oh, that's it. So then I would try to go to the different wineries to try their wines. But I had 2 baby girls, and I didn't really have the time to actually sit and listen and drink. So I would grab a bottle and run. Mm-hmm. But then when I moved up into Rose Valley, there was a little neighborhood activity to go on a wine tour on a bus with all the ladies from the neighborhood. And I was like, that'd be cool. I'm like just been in this neighborhood like a couple weeks. I get to meet these people. Let's go on this wine tour. That would be kind of good to get my foot into this neighborhood. And that's the tour that got me going. I need to know more.
So that's like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And you started to become a sommelier. So there's the WSET is 4 levels. Is that right?
Yes.
And tell us the basic difference between level 1, 2, 3, 4.
So level 1, you are literally just learning the different grapes. You're learning to differentiate between a Gewürztraminer and a Chardonnay, between a sweet wine and a dry wine. You're just kind of learning the different words and the different vocabulary and how to properly store your wine.
Right.
So it's very basic.
So how long does level 1 take?
It's 1 weekend.
1 weekend. So like Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And do you have an exam?
4, and you have an exam at the end of the day. At the end of the last day, you have about an hour. It's about 25 questions, multiple choice. And you'll find out your response in 6 to 8 weeks because they mail it directly to the WSET school in London where this started. And then
London, Ontario or England?
London, England.
Interesting. I don't really think of England as a big wine producing place, but I guess it's a big wine drinking place.
Yeah.
Do they produce a lot of wine in England?
In England, I honestly am not sure, but it's so surrounded by France and Italy and all the other ones. And a lot of the teachers and the people that I follow and I feel as my mentors, like Jancis Robinson, she is British. She's literally written the book on wine. And maybe that's why it started to become a big thing. Stephen Spurrier as well, who we went and listened to. They're from England. So they were the big ones who made people actually stop and think about the wine.
Right.
And that's probably how the school started.
Right. So now with some topics like math, for example, totally unrelated, but with math, you got to start at the very basics. So the first things that you learn in some topics are all the same. And then as you become more and more advanced, you can branch off into specialties.
Yes.
Is it the same
Yes.
with wine? So the first course is like the same. If you take WSET 1 in Texas or in England or in Toronto, it's the same.
Yes.
All right. And then how about level 2? What happens?
So level 2 is the one that I took was 3 full weekends. It's more in depth. You're actually learning about the vineyards where the grapes are being pulled from and where they're being made into wine. So you actually learn the different parts of France and why this vineyard here and literally across the street is completely 2 different crews or 2 different varieties and levels of quality. And you're getting more in depth on the soil and why the grape actually grows the way it does there and the stories and who brought the wine into, and it was always monks, the damn monks. They're the ones who got people drinking.
Well, I guess it'd be pretty boring in a monastery. So you don't want to drink a lot of wine, right?
What else are you going to do? But a lot of the best wines and the best wineries still to this day started by a monk.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess because they have a lot of time and agriculture is really fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, we take it for granted living in a modern society. Like we just actually now we don't even have to get up. We just dial for it, right? Or we just like tap on an app in it. But I mean, well, I worked in a grocery store for about 6 months and the amount of work. And my boss was telling me that there's a ton of work that goes into it even before that, right? The farming, but also the processing and the packaging and the shipping and the, sorting and
standing out in the sun and making sure there's no pests and getting everything watered. And that's the great thing with some of these established older wineries is they have hundreds of years of notes from every wine taker who's ever been part of that up to the monks of what happened to that day, that year, that time.
Right.
Like they can specifically go back to June 1st, 1862 at 2:00 in the afternoon and know it was raining.
Right. So if you get this type of a climate, you're going to want to take these measures and you're likely to get different flavors as well, right?
Yep.
If you have more sun or more rain, you're going to get a different taste.
Yeah. And you have to worry about more pests or mold and do you actually want the mold? Because some mold is good. And
yeah. So I imagine organic wines would be pretty tough to do. You don't want to just spray things with a bunch of chemicals.
Yeah. So they are out there in the middle of the night pulling off the pests. They're out there
like
in the middle
with
of the night
fingers.
with their fingers, taking off all the, the slugs or whatever comes out. They are out there. They are using biodynamics, and they are using horns filled with manure and putting that into the ground there to help produce better ground or vitamins. And they are out there doing everything they can. Whereas most modern wineries, vineyards, they have machines and they have sprays and they have helicopters that go over and make sure the grapes don't get mold or get wet on them. And there's a big difference.
Right. Does your taste change over time?
Yes.
So when I was a kid, as a teenager, if I could get my hands on some alcohol, it tended to be sweet.
Yeah.
I liked rum and Coke, but I started to like beer over time. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I actually appreciated whiskey and things that were, considered harsh as a teenager.
Exactly.
So has your wine taste evolved?
Completely. So when I first started drinking wine, I was early 20s and I didn't know what I liked, but I knew I liked that sweet one that started with a G. And the waitress would be like, Gewürztraminer. And I'd be like, yeah, that's the one, because I couldn't say the name. And it was actually, if we go back to that very first wine tour I did with the group of ladies from the neighborhood, I finally learned how to say Gewürztraminer because we went to Beringer Brothers and they had it phonetically written out so you could see all the grapes, how to phonetically say it. And that's how I learned to say Gewürztraminer finally.
That's awesome. That's great. I want to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and talk about level 3 and level 4 on the WSET. Stay tuned.
Luke Menkes is a realtor. He loves what he does.
So we're not
We
supposed to
asked
say
Luke if he
WSET
had any regrets about moving here in 2011. And he always says, yeah, one regret. And that is, he didn't move here sooner. When Luke came here, he didn't know anyone. He didn't know the neighborhoods or anything or anyone besides his daughter, who was 6 years old at the time. So he knows what it's like. Now, he's an expert and has helped well over 100 single people, couples, families, and investors with their real estate needs in the Okanagan. If you're new to our beautiful city, Luke can help you get connected with great lawyers, dentists, carpenters, landscapers, swimming pool installers, you name it. And whether you're new to Kelowna or not, Luke knows real estate. He can help you find a great property, negotiate a good deal, and hold your hand all the way through the process until the day you get your shiny new set of keys. Luke is known as a no-pressure kind of guy. He's had clients where it took even a year or more to get them into a property. He just doesn't believe in rushing things. On the other hand, when you decide it's time to act, he's diligent and he'll work day and night until the job is done. Give Luke Menkes a call or a text message at any time. 778-215-4273. Again, that's 778-215-4273. 778-215-4273 to chat with Luke about real estate.
Welcome back to the I Love Kelowna podcast. Be sure to visit the website at ilovekelowna.buzzsprout.com. Now, your host, Luke J. Menkes.
All right, we're back. So that commercial, it's kind of funny. Like the music is like really triumphant at the end. Like it's like you just won like a major race, or it's like triumph. But yeah,
You could see the cross line, the finish line there. Just
yeah, and it's a little bit long. I want to abbreviate it a bit because you don't need to hear that like every single time. Right?
need like a couple of them.
But I do want you to know that I am a realtor, and you can text me anytime. So yeah, we were talking about the WSET and level 1, level 2. Level 2 is 3 weekends.
Yeah.
And you have a test.
Yes.
So how does the test differ? Is there any tasting involved?
Not when I took level 2.
Okay.
They are apparently now with the new versions going to start. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a little bit more in depth.
Okay.
And I know that with the WSET, they're starting to make it actually vary 2 different roads. Mm-hmm. It's a wine and spirit education trust. So it's wine and spirit. So they're going to separate that a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And do strictly wine with the wines and strictly spirits with the spirits. Because when I took the 2, I did learn a little bit about spirits, and that was even eye opening. It was kind of cool to see how the different tequilas and the rums and how they're all made. So now when I proceed with some more education, I'm going to take just a spirits one, just to buff up a bit more on different things, because I don't know about all the different liqueurs and stuff. So that'll be in my next foray, maybe.
Really? But you're planning to take level 3.
Level 3, yes.
And so tell us a little bit about level 3. What happens?
That's 6 weeks.
Like full-time weeks or like 6 weekends?
6 weekends or 6 full days.
Okay.
So it just depends on which school you go through, how they break it up. One does it every Wednesday for like 2 months, and one does it like 4 weekends with a couple weekends off. But yeah, and that one you do a blind tasting. So they don't blindfold you.
What does blind taste? It means the label is covered.
Label and the bottle's covered. So they usually have it in a
Like a
cover,
canter.
in a cover. So like a bag. Or a fancy bag with drawstrings, and they pour it out. And first of all, they're like, okay, what do you see here? And I see, well, obviously I have a white and obviously I have a red. So they make it that easy, but then they want you to go through all the steps of smelling it, tasting it, looking at the different ways, the different characteristics to see if you can tell if it's a Sauvignon Blanc or if it's a Chardonnay or, between the reds. And they don't say that they fail you on that. You never ever find out what your test scores are, ever.
Really?
You never find out what you got wrong.
Wow.
So that's weird. So even when you go up to the highest level 4, you either know you pass or fail, but you don't know what you did wrong. Like you just don't. So I don't know how that's supposed to help you. Maybe it's just because it's always going to be in the back of your head. And then when you taste that again, you'll be like, oh, that's the one I got wrong. Or
I don't know.
It makes you do more research and to see that was tripping me up. So I'm going to read more.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing I found out with this training is you never find out what you did wrong.
I always correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to sound rude, but I always thought that there's kind of a snobbery to it.
Oh, totally.
Like a lot of these people are kind of like, well, you just don't understand.
Totally.
You do not understand the subtleties of this, whatever.
Well, there's total snobs, but there's snobs in every branch of your life,
That's
right?
true. That's
Anywhere you go, even if working at the grocery store, you had a snob.
Real
there.
estate.
You had a veggie snob at the grocery store.
There's real estate snobs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hairdressers, the same thing. There's just different types. So there's the really easygoing ones, and there's the ones who are like,
You just don't get
you
it.
just don't get it.
So, and what is it like against the rules for the teacher if you fail and you call the teacher and say, hey, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, he doesn't see them.
He just hangs up.
No, he puts all of the tests into an envelope and mails it to England. He doesn't know.
Wow.
He doesn't know. He knows who passes or fails, but he doesn't know.
Interesting.
So you can't even bug him about it.
But he does discuss with you throughout
Very
the
thorough.
course. So if you're way off,
Yeah, very thorough.
you're if he's Kara, that's actually a white wine. It's not red. He would point that out.
Colorblind? Yeah, he would definitely point that out. And they were very helpful in saying, this is going to be on the test. So if you're having a hard time with this, please research that a bit more, do some more reading.
So it's not too bad.
It's not too bad. No, you go into the test feeling confident. You still have your jitters. You're still did I do enough? And you leave the test going, what did you do? Did you do this? And everybody has the different answer for the same question. So you're always but did I do that? But yeah.
Do most people pass?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then level 4.
Level 4 is 2 years.
2 years. So it's like a university diploma.
Yeah, you do it from home and you go to different cities like Vancouver or Toronto, I think, to do each course test. They call it the marriage breaker test because you're all encompassed in this for 2 years.
Yeah.
You're completely, we saw that movie, right? Psalm 1 and 2. They're in their rooms with their flashcards.
Yeah.
For 2 years.
Plus, they're hanging around other people who are drinking.
Exactly. So. And even though we don't technically drink it, we are tasting it and then spitting it out.
When the day is done,
you've still, taken in a lot of alcohol. It still goes into you a little bit. But
at the end of the day, you're going to have
a bottle or two. Yeah. Because you've just had a hard day of tasting.
So that sounds like a big problem.
It's hard. Yeah, it's really
Amazing. So do you intend to go all the way, like level 4?
At this point in life, I am thinking level 3 is next. I might do some more specialized because I did take the Canadian Wine Scholar. So I learned more about specifically just the wines of Canada and how the laws have pertained and how things have changed here in Canada. There's a French Wine Scholar. There's the States. I just saw somebody did one for, I just lost it was a different country in Europe, South Africa. Sorry, in Europe. It was South African wine. So you can pick a country and specifically just learn everything about that, and then you can add those letters to your business card. So that's I think where people start to get a little snobby because they're like, oh, I have all of these letters behind my name,
right?
Which doesn't mean anything if people don't know who don't know.
But people in the industry know
it, and they appreciate it. In my Canadian Wine Scholar, I had a pretty prominent person from Mission Hill there. And he's a very sweet guy. He's really nice. And he knows a lot. He's taken courses I've never even heard of. And the answers that he came up with when we were all sharing our tasting notes, it was like, how did he taste that? Like, I don't even know what that is.
Right.
But he was still very down to earth and very easy to talk to. But he's so educated. So like I said, it just takes all types. Some know everything and let you know it. And then there's others who just know everything, but try to help you along the way. And that's what I hope to be. Try to help people just to.
Right.
Yeah.
And is your motive career, or is it just something you just love to learn about, or a combination of those two
first
things?
It's both now. At first it was just, I kind of want to learn more about this. This is cool. I didn't realize this. I want to learn a bit more. So that first course was not that expensive, and it was a 1 weekend, and I was able to do it. Right. And it was so much fun. And then it took a while to get back to 2, and it's taking a bit to get to 3, but it's still something I like to do. And my kids are older now, and I have a little bit more time, and I'm actually working in the industry. So I have more opportunity to do more education. So that's fun. It has gotten me into the industry at this point. I was even ordering all the Canadian wines for one place I worked at, and that was so much fun. And this place I'm at now, they're asking me my opinion on things, and it might lead to something a little bit bigger. So it's been a lot of fun. And when you have that person come into the store and ask you a question, and you go through the whole routine, and then they come back.
Right.
And I had one person call me back within an hour and was like, I just wanted you to know that recommendation was amazing.
They drank it.
They drank it right away. And then, other people come back in the store and say, you helped me last time, and what you did was great.
Yeah. That's a great feeling.
It's such a good feeling because sometimes you're like, nobody's listening. They don't care.
Right.
They think I'm do they think I'm a snob?
And honestly, a lot of times people don't care. They just want to get drunk. Or they want something that tastes good.
Yeah.
Like, I think for most of us, we want something that tastes good.
Yeah.
Right. We're not that interested in, like, for me, the history and the geography is really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not that interested of how the hint of lemon goes with the, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, does it taste good? Does it go with my food? And if you have a story about the history, so some of the things I attended with you, those were my most interesting talks where they talked about this vineyard started, on a hillside and they worked out in the sun and they didn't even have a place to, sleep. They had to leave and come back.
Exactly.
And, I love those stories.
Yeah.
So
and those are the
really
stories
cool.
I love to learn because that's the stories I want to get out there.
Right.
Because that's what caught me. And I know when I tell a story about why a wine does this, this, and this, they're always like, really? Okay. And they take it home and it just adds to that experience so that when they open that wine and they taste it, they remember the story. And then whether they like it or not, they'll remember that story and tell somebody else. So you get that continuation going on.
For sure. Yeah. And to me, the advanced knowledge, like I got my broker license in 2017, but once I got it, I had some opportunities to be a managing broker.
Yeah.
And I got really close a couple of times and I was like, no.
Yeah. Wasn't your time.
I just don't want to do it because it's a different function than selling real estate. Yeah. But I don't regret taking it because now gave me a little more confidence. So I know what I'm talking about and I can help other realtors, right? Yeah. I can answer a lot of questions. And I just understand how the business works a little bit better,
Yeah.
you
Gave
know,
you that
than I
little
used to.
extra
But I don't want to
cushion of
run
education.
I really don't want to run a company, but I certainly am glad that I took the course. It was really hard. It took a full year.
Yeah.
I had to study like on a weekly basis. Otherwise, you get behind.
And you
This is
forget.
massive.
Yeah. You have to keep going. Yeah.
Exactly. So, the textbook's like a kid's booster seat for the car. It's like massive.
Perfect. Now, is that what you're using now?
Very funny. So I have one last question for you, and then I want to talk about maybe a series where we could do this, because you said there are so many stories about the vineyards and stuff. And we have, how many vineyards in the Okanagan?
Oh, they asked me this the other day, and I know the answer. It's in here.
Is it over 100?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Over 200?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's tons.
So there's tons. So, I mean, there's tons of great stories we've interviewed on this podcast, maybe 10 or 15.
Yep.
But, I'd like to hear thirdhand the story of a vineyard, right? So why would anyone, if they're enjoying the wine and they're enjoying the taste of it, why would they spit it into a bucket? Like, how does that make any sense?
I know, right? That was the first thing I didn't get. I'm like, I'm not spitting this. Day one of my first class, I was like, I'm not spitting this. But if you're tasting 50 to 100 wines, and you will in a day as you become more professional, you can't physically do that and still remember how wine 5 tasted and felt and the experience to get it once you hit wine 55. Right. But if you don't, like if you spit it out, you're still getting all the flavors because you've taken that training, you have muscle memory in your mouth, and you know how high the alcohol is, all the different flavors you're getting, the dryness, the sweetness, you're getting that just in your mouth without swallowing. Right. So then you're able to do it all day long.
You get to enjoy more without, When I went to a whiskey bar in Amsterdam, he said, try 5 or 6 and then stick to the one that you like, because you're not going to be able to tell the difference after. Exactly. Yeah. So that kind of makes sense.
Right. I was at a wine back on my first wine tour, because it just was it's such a core memory for me now. Right. We tried, she had amazing stories. She was the one that was the winery that really got me going. Silver Sage. She makes a wine with a jalapeno pepper in it. Right. It's called the Flash, and it is spicy. You want to kind of add it to your Caesar. It's not, or you could drink it if you really like spicy stuff. But when we went to the next winery, they were like, were you just at Silver Sage? Did you try that wine? And they're like, we need your taste buds to come back in about half an hour, because you're not going to be able to taste anything.
Right. So what do? Crackers, water,
and just wait for your mouth to kind of reset.
Recover.
It's like eating spicy wings, right? You need that blue cheese for a reason.
Very cool. Very cool. So is there a particular winery that you've been fascinated by that you would like to answer some questions about and tell us a little narrative about the history of that winery?
Right now?
No, I mean like for the next episode.
Oh, there's so many.
In lieu of doing a nomination, because you've given us dozens of great nominations. Yeah. But I thought, like, if we have a wine series, and maybe there's a particular winery that you would like to talk about on the next show.
Does that mean you'll take me on a road trip if it's done in a Soyuz?
Of course.
Yay!
Yeah.
Okay,
you have to go and do research.
I
right?
do need to research.
So we could go, we could drink, and we could take some notes and get their literature.
I love that
and then
idea.
you could prepare a show.
That sounds impressive. I like that.
Okay. Well, which one?
The first one would be Burrowing Owl Wineries.
Burrowing Owl.
Yeah,
okay. And if we go to a Soyuz, we could do 5 or 6,
Exactly. Like we did last time.
Multiple episodes.
Yes, exactly.
But
I'd have to spit the entire time. You could enjoy it. I'll be the driver.
Okay. We'll figure that out.
Yeah,
we'll figure that out. Okay. So Burrowing Owl.
Yeah. And then I would do Riverstone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Burrowing Owl and Riverstone on the next episodes of the wine. I don't know what we're going to call it. What are you going to call it?
And we need some sound effects, right?
Yeah.
I love Kelowna / wine.
Yeah. Wine. I don't know.
Kara's wine.
It's not coming to me, but it's like the series. The wine series. Right. The wine series.
Yeah.
All right. Good enough. Kara Menkes, thanks so much for your time today. It's lovely to see you. Always.
It's nice to see you too.
And hope to see you again soon.
I hope so too.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
You've been listening to I Love Kelowna. We love where we live. And how can you not? With all the provincial parks, pine forests, vineyards, orchards, mountains. On each show, we have in-depth, intimate conversations with entrepreneurs, execs, thought leaders, and creatives, all that make up Kelowna. You can support the show so we can keep producing by going to paypal.me/Luke Menkes. And make sure to visit the official website at ilovekelowna.buzzsprout.com. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. And we hope you had some fun along the way. We'll be back soon. Until then, this is I Love Kelowna signing off.